Good morning, everybody. As you can tell, I'm sitting in the studio all by myself because my partner has decided to leave the city, leave the county, leave the state, and leave the country. So, Andrea's on a much deserved break. She will be back next week. So, you've got me for the whole hour. I apologize for that. But anyway, we should have an informative and fun show. A couple of things that I want to share with you. Since I'm alone, I am inviting you to join the program. You can do that live. If you have a question or a comment, keep it clean, keep it civil, or we'll cut you off. But we do welcome your comments live if you want to participate. And so let me give you the instructions. There is a link that will appear at the bottom, but you can't click on it. You have to copy it and then paste it onto your browser. And then that'll bring you into the show. Again, copy the link, put it into your browser, and then we'll get you on the show. You will come up. Our producer, Mark, will see you, and we'll bring you on. Just tell us your first name, your last name if you want to, and then make your comment or ask your question. So that'll fill in some time for Andrea, who's not here, helping me co-host. So it'd be fun to have you guys participate. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Texas. We do have a special election in San Antonio in House District 118. The former state representative resigned, and so we have to have a special election that the governor called. Now, early voting has been going on since Monday. Our candidate that we have endorsed is John Lujan. John's been on the program, and we're asking you to support John Lujan. I know this is not a normal election day, but these elections are just as important because they elect the state representatives that go to Austin and represent you. And so early voting started Monday in House District 118, which is the southern part of San Antonio, south of Interstate 10, and there's a little sliver up on the northeast corner. And so we're asking if you're in that House district, and you can click on it, you can look at your voter registration card, and it'll tell you who your state representative is. And if it says 118, you're eligible to vote. So early voting started Monday. It will end on Friday. And then Election Day, which the polls generally open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., will be next Tuesday. Now, John stands a good chance. We're doing a lot for him. We've got commercials running on many social media platforms. We have block walkers knocking doors, and passing out literature, and asking registered voters to vote for John Lujan. Now, I hope that's a clean election. I hope there's not a lot of politiqueras down in South Texas or South San Antonio trying to harvest ballots at the mailbox. But we think that John stands a good chance if it's a good and clean election, which we hope that the Bexar County officials will conduct. It's a good opportunity for us. And speaking of that, the last time we, the conservative Latinos, won a special election was Pete Flores down in the Senate district, which is south of San Antonio, goes all the way down to Maverick County, which is the Eagle Pass area, and then a good portion of West Texas. Pete, as you know, lost in the general election. He won in a special election, but lost in the general. But he's coming back. He's running for a Senate race, I think, in the southern portion of Austin. So we're excited that Pete Flores is coming back. I want to also tell you that TLC has regional directors. For example, we're working very closely with our regional director in San Antonio, Chelsea Valenzuela. Many of you know her, and she reported to me this morning that John Lujan's race looks really good. So we've got a good shot. If you guys go out and support John Lujan, go to his webpage, check him out. He spent several years as a Bexar County Sheriff's officer, our deputy, and then he spent 25 years with the San Antonio Fire Department. He did a lot of good work advocating for first responders, worked with legislators and political leaders. He's a businessman, a father. He's had a very successful business employing hundreds of people in the San Antonio area. Incidentally, he did serve as a state representative before. So he has some good name ID. He wants to come back and serve the good people of San Antonio, but you guys got to get out and support him. So if you have time to volunteer, maybe this weekend with the weather being so nice, volunteer and go to do some block walking or do some phone calls, what we call phone banking in politics, and help John Lujan get elected. All right, remember, if you want to participate on the program, copy the link and then put it on your browser, and that'll bring you straight into the studio. Give us your name and make your comment or ask your question. Keep it clean, keep it civil. We know we have people of different opinion. We like to hear different opinions, but it's got to be civil. All right, couple of other things. As you know, I was in Del Rio, Texas last weekend. It is an unmitigated disaster. I think that the Texas Department of Public Safety, I think our Border Patrol agents, I think the local law enforcement, which is the City of Del Rio Police Department, the Valverde County Sheriff's Department, are doing a magnificent job. In Del Rio, there is a large Air Force base called Laughlin Air Force Base. And as of last weekend, we were expecting a substantial transport aircraft transporting thousands of National Guard troops. And they either were going to help, I'm not sure, on the border, or they were going to begin the staging operation at Laughlin Air Force Base for the sea of humanity that is living under the International Bridge. Now, if you've been to Del Rio, you know that the city of Del Rio and the city of Acuña, which is in the state of Coahuila, Mexico, are very close. Their chambers of commerce work together. There's families that live in Acuña and live in Del Rio, and they travel back and forth. There are a lot of citizens in Acuña that have employment in Del Rio. There's a lot of citizens of Acuña that come to Del Rio to do shopping. And so the citizens of Acuña support the local economy in Del Rio. Unfortunately, because of the overwhelming number of people trying to, and this is an invasion, I'm sorry. I've been down to the Rio Grande since I was 18 years old. I was stationed at Laughlin Air Force Base, and I've never seen anything like this. And I have no other word to describe what's going on in Del Rio, Texas, and the poor people of Del Rio and the good people and taxpayers of Valverde County, that it's nothing short of an invasion. You know, and the question that has to be asked, because, you know, we know these human waves are coming. Who's organizing them? I think there's got to be an international strategic operation to finance and send these waves of humanity into the Mexico and into the southern portion of our country to perhaps try to destabilize our country. I don't know. I don't want to start getting into conspiracy theories, but, you know, it's not like the old days where folks just immigrated because they wanted jobs and they were either from Mexico or Central America. I mean, these waves are coming from all over the world. So somebody's got to be organizing that, and it's quite troubling. And it's sad for the people of Valverde County because these southern counties, whether it's Maverick, Kinney County, Valverde County, they're poor counties, and their resources are limited. For example, you know, there's not even a level 1 or level 2 trauma center. There are very few medical facilities, and with these waves of undocumented immigrants trying to get into the United States, many of them are sick. You know, we're a good country. We will help them, but they have to go to our local hospitals, and it's the taxpayers of the local communities that are having to foot the bill. And the local police are having to help the Border Patrol and the local sheriff's office. So it's an unmitigated disaster. It's unfair to the people in South Texas that are taxpayers, that pay taxes to their local county and their local city for resources for themselves and their children and their family, that these resources, their dollars, are being diverted to help ward off what I call an invasion of humanity. And it's just inappropriate to me and unconscionable that the federal government and the Biden administration is really not paying attention. And it's sad, but we're going to see what happens. So that's what's going on in Del Rio, Texas. I'll be back the following weekend. I'll report back. I have posted some pictures of the situation on my personal Facebook page. It's Orlando Sanchez, and you can check those out. So again, if you want to join the program, copy the link, put it on your browser, click on it, and you'll be on the program. Now, several weeks ago, we had a friend from Harlingen Texas on the program. His name is Joacim Hernandez, and Joacim told us that he was interested in running for the chairmanship of the Texas Federation of Young Republicans. And, it's a great organization that's been around for a long, long time. They do good works in different counties throughout the state of Texas. They're Young Conservatives, which is the future wave of the leaders that we're going to have in this state. And so Joacim ran for the chairmanship of that organization. I'm delighted to report that Joacim won. So, Mark, if you can bring Joacim in and have him join us. Joacim, I want to first of all start by saying congratulations, dude. I didn't, I thought it would be an uphill battle for you, but you proved that young conservatives down from the Rio Grande Valley can get the job done just like you guys have done in Hidalgo County. So welcome to the program. All right. I don't think he can hear me. I think he muted himself. So Joacim, if you can unmute yourself, perhaps.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now. Welcome to the program. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It was definitely a long 4 months since I think we interviewed in May, and then made my decision shortly after. Some of your words were very encouraging, and got to making a lot of phone calls. And there was a lot of people very receptive to the work that we've done down on the border, down in the valley, and overcoming difficulty and still being able to move voters over to the right and win hearts and minds of voters in a Democrat or blue stronghold.
So Joacim and I met many months ago when we went down to Harlingen and met Adrian and Joacim and several other leaders of the Hidalgo County Republican Party and the Cameron County Republican Party. We were down in Nueces County, and I'll never forget that after the meeting, Joacim came out as we were leaving, and he said, "Hey, Orlando, I'm thinking about running for chairman of the Federation of Young Republicans." And I said, I thought to myself, wow, young Latino leader from South Texas wanting to be the chairman of the organization. And, I was excited. It's exactly why we have TLC, is to encourage the next wave of young leaders that are conservative in the state of Texas. And so that's how Joacim and I met, and I've been following him. We've been talking on the phone. We didn't endorse because, of course, we had, as Joacim knows, a lot of great candidates, right, that ran against you, people that have worked hard across the state. But we're just delighted that you prevailed and that your colleagues, the young Republicans, elected you. Now, tell us a little bit about the YRs. We call them the YRs, the Young Republicans. But how big is the organization? How long has it been around? What does it take to become a member of it?
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, so organization has been around for about 90 years. Currently, we have about 35 chapters across the state of Texas, about 2,200 active members, 35 chapters, 40 elected officials, and we've made over 1.2 million voter contacts in the last year. So basically, you can get involved if you're between the ages of 18 to 40. You could go to our website texasyr.gop. There's a tab on there that says Find a Club, and it'll show you the map of Texas and where we have a club. If we don't have a club there, you can click Start a Club, and we can start the whole process of getting a club formed in your county. And to be honest, we're seeing a lot of growth. We're seeing a lot of interest of people, young conservatives, young Republicans that want to get involved, want to get plugged in, want to fight back against the liberal agenda of the left, and kind of get involved in the whole political process, and talking to their cousins, to their brothers, their aunts, their uncles, grandma, grandpa, and everyone, and just making a difference for their community.
So we're getting a lot of comments congratulating you, telling us that they're proud of you. They were talking about your style, how congenial you are, how you reached out, how you worked with folks. So obviously you've got a lot of support out there, and we're just extremely proud of you. Courtney Ann is on there telling us way to go, Joacim. So I'm glad it looks like all the YRs are watching. So hey, congratulations to the YR. You guys are making history. I'm really proud of the Young Republicans of Texas. Joacim, let me ask you a question. Why, in your opinion, because obviously there's a generational gap between you and me, right? I've been in public life for 25 years. When I started in politics as a young conservative back in 1992, we couldn't get any Latinos, any Hispanics, any Tejanos to really come over to the conservative side. And what's changed? What's changed between, let's say, when I started in 1992 and 2021? Why are young Latinos across the state of Texas abandoning the liberal philosophy of, defunding police, abandoning law and order, abandoning hard work, and, I don't guess our young conservatives down in the RGV or any portion of South Texas want government checks, right? You guys want work. You want an opportunity. You want prosperity. So what is it that's driving your generation over to the conservative side?
Yeah, so I think one of the main issues that we see amongst young voters, young conservatives, is, like you said, the whole argument of defunding the police, when many of them probably are starting out their profession, their career as a law enforcement officer. So we've seen an uptick of young conservatives who are law enforcement officers, whether it's their local PD, through state troopers, or with the Border Patrol. And they don't like the fact that the liberal left is trying to come and take their job when all they're trying to do is maintain law and order, right? So we see that, and then this whole invisible tax, which is inflation, being caused by the economic policies of the Biden administration, is frustrating a lot of young conservatives. They're looking for other avenues in where to invest their money and their resources, and are trying to find new coins, following the Elon Musk trend with Dogecoin and obviously all the crypto currency movement. So they're looking for ways to diversify and to prosper in the nation that promised the American dream, but because of the liberal left agenda, they're just creating a bigger and bigger government, a bigger debt. A lot of them graduate college with a lot of debt, and they're stuck paying that off instead of prospering and going on to bigger and better things. So I think young conservatives, young Republicans, we believe in the American dream. We believe in a prosperous future for ourselves, for our nation, for our state, and we want to do whatever we can to create more opportunities and break down barriers to success for our generation, and obviously for the next generation.
It's interesting you mentioned that. One of the things that we have been striving to achieve here at TLC is to bring awareness to the state legislature, to our members of Congress, about the needs in the Latino community across Texas. I'm going to mention a couple of them to you, just so you know what's important to us. Immigration is important to us for many reasons. We want a strong border. We want border security. We Latinos that are immigrants, I'm an immigrant. I'm assuming, somewhere in your generation, Joacim, there were immigrants that came to this country. But we want the immigrants to come legally. We want some sort of documentation so we know who's here. But immigration, the lack of immigration reform, the lack of Congress even attempting to reform immigration, because, by the way, Congress has not touched the immigration laws since 1986. If Congress could come together, both Republicans and Democrats, they could solve this problem. It's just the environment is so toxic in Washington that they use it as a weapon rather than trying to solve the problems for the people along the border. And there's no longer border than the Texas border with Mexico. And so immigration is important to us. Another issue that we've been trying to bring awareness to is the healthcare issue in the Latino community. As many people know, many young Hispanics are trending to or are overweight and on the verge of being obese, and that has a lot to do with diet and inactivity. But there's a lack of access to health care. And part of the problem with obesity and trending towards, let's say, type 2 diabetes is the lack of economic opportunity and prosperity. Because it's shown that, for example, in areas of South Texas, here in the urban area, we call them food deserts, but there are portions of South Texas that there isn't a well-stocked H-E-B. There isn't a well-stocked Kroger or a well-stocked grocery store with ample opportunities to choose between processed foods and whole foods and natural foods and fruits and vegetables. So the lack of prosperity in communities is a driver for poor health outcomes. And so we at TLC are trying to make our state legislators aware of that. Not that we need more laws or government to cure the problem, but if you recognize that economic opportunity in poor areas of Texas where there are Latinos, where there are a lot of colonias, where there's a lack of infrastructure, where there's a lot of lack of economic opportunities, those are things we want to bring awareness to. You talk about the young people wanting to serve their country either through the military, through CBP, which is Customs and Border Patrol, or through law enforcement. You're right. That's very big. Hispanic families want safe neighborhoods. We're not into defunding police and shipping those dollars somewhere else. We want economic opportunity. And so I'm assuming your generation would rather work, build a business, be entrepreneurial, make a contribution, rather than sit at home and wait for a government check. Is that your generation?
Absolutely. So, touching on the topic of immigration, I think you bring up a great point. Latinos, when they come to the U.S., they expect strong law enforcement and strong law and order. They're almost bothered, or I'd say they're extremely bothered by the fact that in probably their country of origin, they could, pay off a cop to not get a ticket, or that some of them are on the payroll for, cartels and terrorist organizations across the border. So law and order is a strong value in Latino households. My grandpa is who naturalized my mom, and then my mom naturalized my dad, and then I was born in the United States. So I'm a first generation American, but from my grandpa all the way till when my dad was naturalized, they did it in the legal manner. They waited their time, and they did it legally, right? And eventually I was, able to be born in the United States after my mom had been naturalized, and then she naturalized my dad. And now, we're living the American dream. I agree, absolutely. Everyone is so divided right now. It seems like politics has just divided everyone, but there definitely needs to be a consensus on what type of immigration reform to pass. It will never be a solution for all, which I think is a false hope and expectation that many advocates for immigration give to their followers. But you take it step by step, and that's where I think a lot of our legislators, both federal and local, are not coming together. And when they do come together, you know, they do it for the community. They don't do it because one side gained over the other, and they have talking points now. It's because it's the best thing for our country. So we're at a crux, or at a crossroads, and I think it is important to address immigration and chip away at some of the problems we're seeing at the border.
Yeah,
Um,
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I agree, and so you're native born. I am an immigrant. I was naturalized like your parents were, and of course, I think on that we all agree. We all want law and order. I know a lot of people in the African American community don't like the word law and order because in the 50s and the 60s, law enforcement was used to terrorize, and unfortunately, that's what happened. The community, when they tried to register to vote, it was the local sheriff or the municipal police that beat the African American community. But I think we all know that this is not a dog whistle. Law and order means that we follow the laws that the people set on the books through our elected representatives in Austin, and the police do their best to enforce it. Are all police officers 100% great? No. I mean, there are bad apples in every bunch, but certainly we have a penal code that will deal with that and a judicial system that will deal with that. But generally, we want, as immigrants, law and order. We want everybody to follow the law and to come into this country the legal way.
Mhm.
But at TLC, we're focused on immigration because we just feel that the estimates are between 11 million to 20 million people are here undocumented and have been here for many, many years. Sadly, many of those are of Hispanic descent, and they have been here for decades, and they have children who are now legal, well, they're born in the United States, so they're native Americans, right? They're citizens of this country and have a right to vote when they hit 18 years of age, and that presents a problem for both parties. And so I'm encouraging conservatives in Congress to protect the family. So if our proposal is simple, we call it family stabilization. And I don't know if I've ever discussed it with you, Joacim, but it's real easy. Family stabilization says if you're an undocumented alien and you've lived here for a substantial period of time, whatever Congress decides, let's just say they pick 7 years or longer, and you have a family, you have children, and you've never violated the penal code, you never committed a crime, I mean, parking tickets don't count, then you should be able to apply for a legal status with no pathway to citizenship. And most immigrants that I speak to that are undocumented, that are law-abiding in every regard except having crossed the border many years ago for economic reasons, support this type of legislation, which is documentation that allows them to travel between, let's say, Texas and their native country. Let's say if they're from Mexico or Honduras or Guatemala or El Salvador, go back and forth. You just don't become a citizen. You don't get to vote. You don't get to run for office. And you pay all the program costs. And you get to renew this status every 5 years. And it will be approved, provided you haven't broken the law, the penal code. And so, to me, that's a simple fix. I mean, it satisfies people on the left that it documents the undocumented. From a public safety perspective, it documents every undocumented alien in this country so that we know who everyone is. And from the undocumented person's perspective, their family is stabilized. That means that mom and dad don't have the fear of deportation when they go to work, of being separated from their children who are now U.S. citizens, for example, or, DACA recipients. And so it just makes a lot of sense. Just document the law-abiding, contributing, hardworking immigrant that's in this country. And then seal the border, protect our country. Let's make
Yeah.
sure that this massive wave of undocumented people doesn't come into the country. So I don't know if I've shared this with you, but it's something we're trying to encourage our, two U.S. senators, Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, to support. and our huge congressional delegation. But we just need some leadership within the Republican Party to start addressing the issues that are affecting the Latino community. So we've
Yeah.
discussed immigration, and we've discussed access to health care. One other issue that's important to us at TLC is education. And I don't know, Joacim, what it's like down in Hidalgo County and Cameron County and RGV. But for example, in Houston and Harris County, where I am, we're one of the largest school districts in the nation. The dropout rate among Latinos, the Hispanic kids in the Houston Independent School District, is deplorable. It's horrible. And so we've got to make sure that our kids are getting a good education. What's the dropout rate down in the Rio Grande Valley? Do you know? Do the kids stay in school, or do they tend to leave as well?
I wouldn't know the exact number, but I can say that I have seen an increase in some of these alternative schools. So I'm assuming if there's an increase in these types of schools, there's an increase in the dropout rate, and these schools are, staying alive and sustaining their business through trying to bring in some of these students who have dropped out. And yeah, I agree 100% on what you said. On immigration, there's definitely, with your proposal, there's definitely a lot of disinformation between legal status and a citizen.
Correct.
And that's the advantage that people on either extreme take and misinform people to create hateful rhetoric about legal citizens or people who are legally here, or citizens, right? If they become citizens or not. So there definitely, I would say, a lot of engagement from our congressional representatives, a lot of town halls explaining their policy proposals. Ideally, if they can get someone in Spanish to give these updates, would be great. I know the RNC just opened up some of these Hispanic community centers, and I was talking to some of the staff that they have here, and we're kind of throwing out ideas on what we could do to communicate and engage the Hispanic community. So we talked about offering people free income tax filings, right? Having a group of professionals that know how to file income taxes and kind of guiding them through the process. And just an information center for them to come and ask about different government programs or things that the city offers that they just need. So the more information and the more we're informing the community, whether it's through the party or our congressional representatives and their staff, definitely a lot more information so that there's less disinformation from, people who would try to take advantage of the talking points politically.
Yeah. By the way, Joel Castro, council member and mayor pro tem of Alvin, Texas, chimed in, and he called you El Rey. So you have a new nickname.
Okay.
So Joel,
Well,
if you're watching, the El Rey's on.
I was going to say, you missed one nickname for Joel. It's America's Councilman.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're proud of Joel, as we are. Our friend up in Fredericksburg, Texas, Mr. Garcia. We elected him when I think he was 18 years old. So,
Nice.
both Roman Garcia in Fredericksburg, Texas, Joel Castro in Alvin, Texas. These were like 18-year-old city council members that ran as conservatives and got elected. And so there's we got Mark's got a picture of Roman up there. Worked his butt off, ran against the former liberal mayor of Port Arthur, Texas, and won. We're really proud of Roman. We're proud of Joel. We're proud of Freddie Arellano. We're proud of Joacim. I mean, you guys. I say this all the time. Your generation is going to keep Texas conservative for the foreseeable future. I think that you guys are going to have your hands full because, as you know, Robert Francis O'Rourke announced his candidacy, or is contemplating running for governor of Texas, thinking that that blue wave down in South Texas that supported him many years ago, even though he lost, is going to come back? I don't think so. I think Joacim and Joe and Freddie Ariano and Roman Garcia and Dan Corrales, John Lujan, Pete Flores. You guys are going to show Robert Francis
Yeah.
what the state of Texas really wants. I'm excited about that. I just think you guys are a force to be reckoned with, and you're growing exponentially every day, and it's a force multiplier because your generation. I mean, you're touching hundreds of people every day. Let me ask you, Joacim, are you comfortable in the number of young people do you see conversion? I mean, when you talk to the young kids that are, voted for Robert Francis O'Rourke in the past, thinking that he was of Mexican descent or Latino because his name was Beto, are you having success converting them, or at least letting them know the difference between liberalism and conservatism?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people were blinded by the cameras on Beto and his appeal as a young Senate candidate. But um, when you talk to them about the policies, and when they heard him when he ran for president, and he's talking about taking, hell yeah, I'm going to take away your guns, that just didn't sit well with a lot of Hispanics who probably.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. How important is hunting and the Second Amendment to our Tejanos, our Latinos, our Hispanics down in South Texas?
I'll just say, the first weekend of dove hunting, there was a line of about 20 people at every Walmart trying to get their licenses. It was a 2-hour wait. So yeah, it's definitely an important outing for about, a month.
Yeah, and same thing for deer season. I mean,
Hmm.
Robert Francis just doesn't get Texas, South Texas anyway. I mean, I know he's from the El Paso area, and just the mere thought that he buys into this guns kill, because you and I know that guns go off all the time by themselves, right?
Hmm.
uh, it's just not a winning message down in South Texas. But that's why I'm so excited about you guys, because you guys are going to combat that. You're going to fight that. You're going to give the alternative message to the young people down in South Texas. So, what else is going
We're
on?
excited
So,
about it.
yeah. So again, let me ask you the question. Are you having success, and are you seeing more young people come to the conservative side because they don't? You're explaining to them the difference between conservatism and liberalism, and that perhaps the liberalism that their grandparents and their parents voted for back in the 50s and 60s isn't the liberalism of today. Are you having success winning hearts and minds down in South Texas and across the state?
Absolutely. People don't want taxation, and actually, I'd say in 2016 there was an issue that was on the ballot, and it had been previously on the ballot. It had a lot of support from the left, and it was to create another taxing entity in our county. And it was amazing to see, from the first time that proposition was on the ballot. I think it was closer, like 58 to 42, where it was defeated. But the second time they tried to put it on the ballot, which was the cycle right after, it lost 72 to 28. And you could just tell that people understand that just because they add another taxing entity to your tax statement, doesn't mean that they're going to solve the issue that they're proposing to solve. More government isn't going to solve that. So I think at the end of the day, Latinos see liberal policies as more government, more infringement on your rights, less freedom, and they see conservative policies as, conserving their rights and their freedoms, and making sure that they uh, are able to break down any barrier to their prosperity and their success through less government and less laws and less infringement on their rights from the government. And that sells any day. Anytime that you can tell people you can keep your rights and you can keep prospering in your state and in your nation, they love that. There's no reason to create a bigger bureaucracy to try to tell us what we can and can't do.
Yeah, I love the message. I mean, because there's a lot of disinformation. I mean, I get a kick, Joacim. Sometimes we'll have someone like you or Joel Castro and the whole purpose of our PAC and our nonprofit is to the nonprofit is to educate the Latino community and conservatives, and on the side of the PAC is to support candidates. And so sometimes we get comments from people as like, I'm tired of this race stuff. Why can't we just all be Americans? Why can't we just all be Texans? I get a lot of those comments because, as you know, we worked very hard this year to pass Tejano Day in Texas. Both the House and the Senate, the governor signed the resolution, which made April of every year Tejano Day in Texas, recognizing the hard work and the contributions that Tejanos have historically made in Texas for centuries. And the people that get upset about that. And I tell people all the time, well, but you don't get upset at Republican women's clubs. You don't get upset at pachyderm clubs. You don't get upset with the Air Force Association because they're not including the Navy. I mean, we all have associations.
Right.
I don't understand why people in the conservative side get so offended when we talk about Latinos. And Joacim was just talking about our values. Our values are low taxation, economic prosperity, law and order. Everything that conservatives want, we want. We just want to. And frankly, I'm going to say this. I mean, historically, the Republican Party's done such a horrible job in reaching out to Latinos in Texas. That's why I felt the need to create an organization like Texas Latino Conservatives and talk about our values and promote our conservatives, which we're all Texans. Memo to the conservatives that want to know why we have to separate by race and ethnicity and national. We don't. We're all Americans. We're all Texans. We're all on the same team. We're with you, as my friends would say. We're with you. And but we recognize that our heritage is of Latino descendants. Nobody gets offended when there's an Oktoberfest, celebrating Germany. No one seems to be offended when we have St. Patrick's Day celebrating Irish beer and drinking green beer. No one seems to be offended, So that's the beauty of America. The beauty of America, Joacim, is that we've been able to take people from every corner of the globe and convert them into patriots of the American system and our Constitution. And so I'm proud of that. And so I'm not going to defend why we created TLC. TLC is doing great work across the state of Texas. Obviously, as you can see, promoting people like you and all of our young conservatives across the state. So
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Listen, by the way, we're going to be down there, I think, this coming weekend, right?
I signed up, and I've sent it out to everyone I know. So
I've got to tell you, we've been doing Leadership Latino, and what I'm sharing with you guys is we have these seminars across the state of Texas. We call them Leadership Latino. It's a one-day seminar because we know, unlike the liberal left, you guys work for a living, so you can pay your taxes and support your family. But Leadership Latino is we take young people and we talk to you and give you all the details in the event that you want to be the next Joacim Hernandez of Texas. If you want to be the next leader like Joacim, we will help you. We will help you understand how the political process works, how to file Texas Ethics Commission reports, how to deal with the press, how to raise money, how to establish platforms, how to campaign, how to talk, how to dress. And it's a one-day seminar on Saturday. And I've got to tell you, Joacim, that the subscription rate for the RGV has been the best of any of the cities and any of the counties that we've been in Texas. And so I understand from Gina Prickett, our director of Leadership Latino, that we have over 40 people signed up to attend. And I'm really excited because I guess you're going to be there, right?
I'll be there.
Yeah, and so we're looking forward to seeing you. So Leadership Latino down in the RGV, go to our website, Texas Latino Conservatives. You'll see a link on the top right. It says Leadership Latino. Click on it, and it's not too late to sign up. Joacim, thank you. I know you're busy. You got your hands full. Now you're in command of the young Republicans, not in command, but you're leading the young Republicans of Texas across the state, and you've got a lot on your plate. So we are just delighted and honored that you gave us a few minutes. I want to give you a minute or two to send a message out to young conservatives across the state of Texas, and particularly the Latino community who haven't seen opportunities to lead in the Democratic Party, why they should join the conservative movement.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Adrienne just sent us a message. So hi, Adrienne. She's the chairwoman of the Hidalgo Republican Party down in South Texas. We're going to see her in a couple of weeks. So thanks for tuning in, Adrienne. Go ahead, Joacim. Why should young conservatives join us?
Absolutely. So we want to take back our country. We want to take back, the majority in Congress, and we want to make sure that our freedoms are being preserved. Joining the local club of young Republicans is the best way to find like-minded individuals that will join the fight with you, that will help you recruit other like-minded individuals, through our local clubs and the different activities we'll have as a state federation. We'll be training as well, providing leadership training, policy training, and activist training, so that we have the best equipped members in the state. And then, if you feel the call to run, don't neglect it, don't doubt it, just do it. There's nothing better than getting your feet wet and just doing it, because the time is now. Everyone says young people are the future, and the future always begins now. So I encourage anyone who's thinking about running, who's considering it, obviously do it with a plan, but make sure you do it and put your name out there and spread the message, because you'll find a lot of supporters and a lot of people who think like you. So with that, visit our website, get involved in the local club in your county, and ideally, you get to come to convention in 2022, which we'll host in McAllen, since Hidalgo won the convention bid. So we're looking forward to hosting everyone from across the state. See you guys soon, Orlando, at the training on October 2nd. And I guess, leave me a question or a comment in the live feed, and I'll reach out to anyone.
Okay, Joacim, and I'm just going to take an opportunity to talk in Spanish, because I do know that there are a lot of folks that watch us that speak Spanish, and their English isn't as proficient as yours and mine. But I just want to say, queremos explicarle que el señor Joacim Hernandez, que es nuestro invitado hoy, es el primer director, como le dicen en inglés, el chairman de los conservadores jóvenes republicanos del estado de Texas. Estamos sumamente orgullosos de él. Él es hijo de inmigrantes y ha hecho una tarea, un esfuerzo muy bonito para tratar de embullar que la juventud no se vaya a la izquierda, no soporte el socialismo, el comunismo, un gobierno grande que siempre nos están imponiendo impuestos, tratando de chupar los billetes de nuestros bolsillos. Él quiere promover la educación, quiere promover la Constitución norteamericana, la ciudadanía, la ley, la orden, la familia, y estamos sumamente orgullosos de él, y él nos ha complacido hoy participando unos minutos con nosotros. Así que, Joacim, si quieres también dejarle un mensaje a nuestros amigos en español, por favor, un minutito, nada más que en español.
Claro que sí. Una vez más, gracias, Orlando y Texas Latino Conservatives, por tenerme hoy, esta mañana. Los animo a que se involucren en el proceso político, y que los jóvenes republicanos conservadores se unan a la causa de los diferentes clubes que tenemos en todo el estado, para elegir a representantes con nuestros valores de fe, familia y libertad. Y cualquier cosa o pregunta que tengan, escriban en los comentarios, estaré contestándolas, y espero conocer a muchos de ustedes pronto. Gracias una vez más por la oportunidad.
Wow, well said. So he just said, for the young people of Texas in Spanish that want faith, freedom, and opportunity and prosperity to, join the organization. So again, now you guys know why we're so proud of Joacim, a true leader in Texas, a trendsetter, making history, becoming the first Latino as chairman of the Texas Federation of Young Republicans, which I'm proud of. At one point in my life, I was a member of the Federation of Young Republicans. I keep playing with my earpiece because it's falling off, but that was many years ago. They booted me out, but it's great to see young people like Joacim taking the helm. So Joacim, I'll see you in a couple days down in South Texas. Make sure you have pretty weather for us and a cold margarita, and we're going to have a lot of fun. God bless you.
You got it. God bless you,
buddy.
too. Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Unfortunately, not many of you were brave enough to link in and participate live, which you could have in the future. If you want to do that, we will run a link. You just copy that link and then paste it on your browser, and that brings you straight into the program live. So one of these days, we're going to get a brave soul that'll participate. But anyway, Texas Latino Conservatives, visit us on our website, texaslatinoconservatives.com. Sign up for our Leadership Latino classes down in the Rio Grande Valley and in Bexar County in San Antonio, which we're going to be at. Don't forget, this week is early voting for our candidate down in District 118 in the southern portion of San Antonio, John Lujan, a public servant, a first responder for many years, a family man, a businessman. He needs your vote in San Antonio. Early voting ends on Friday, and then general election day is next Tuesday. But get it done early. Vote for John Lujan. If you have enough time, support him. And, because we just need more conservatives in different various governments across the state of Texas, whether it's the Texas House of Representatives or whether it's in Congress. So, Mark, I think we have somebody that's decided to join in. So, look, we're going to let you in. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Or whether it's in Congress. So, Mark, I think we have somebody that's decided to join in. So, look, we're going to let you in. Yeah, you got to turn your tell us your name. You got to turn your speakers off. Whether it's in Congress. So, Mark, I think we have somebody that's decided to join. She can't hear us. So.
Yes, I can. I'm sorry.
Oh, hey! All right. Tell us your name.
I still have the YouTube on. I didn't realize that I could do this. I just heard you say that.
Yeah. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
San Antonio, Texas, and my name's Linda Perkins.
Well, Linda, thank you for joining us. What part of San Antonio are you calling from?
Northwest part of town.
Okay.
Alamo Ranch. Near SeaWorld.
Okay. Good. So what's your comment today? What do you want us to know? What do you want to share with young conservatives across the state of Texas?
Actually, I logged on to see what you were saying. I wanted to know more about the information you were giving. So right now, that's where I'm at. And do you have these meetings regularly that to participate in?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we have this program every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We say más o menos, but we are on at 11 o'clock. We also have regional get-togethers. We call them Plática and Politics. So we're going to be doing our Plática and Politics again, which are monthly meetings of conservative Latinos across the state of Texas. Right now in your city in San Antonio, we're helping to elect John Lujan, who's running for state representative in a district south of you in the southern portion of San Antonio. So if you want to get involved, just visit us at texaslatinoconservatives.com. If you have any questions, we have our phone number there. You can call us. And you can always click on and come on live and ask any questions of our participants. So we're glad. By the way, I want to congratulate you. You're the first one that has clicked on and come on our program live. So we're going to give you the Pioneer Award.
Perfect. I like that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Linda. I appreciate you. Godspeed. Good luck in San Antonio. And remind your friends in southern San Antonio to vote for John Lujan. Okay, Mark, so we know it works. Linda was brave enough to click on, and so next week, hopefully, we'll get some more brave souls that want to participate in the program. So, again, visit us, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. We'll see you down in the Rio Grande Valley, and then we'll see you soon in San Antonio. If you want to reach out to us, just call us, email us. We're easy to get a hold of. Godspeed. We'll see you next week when Andrea returns from her little break.